This video is about Zeus punishes rebellious gods until storm backfires. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. Part 1 The Divine Reckoning. In the twilight of ancient times, the sky was a tapestry woven by the hands of the gods, shimmering with the hues of 1,000 sunsets. Olympus stood proud, its marble columns gleaming like the very stars above. Yet beneath its splendor, a storm brewed a discontent simmering among the lesser gods who resented their subservience to Zeus, the all-powerful ruler of Mount Olympus. The whispers began in the shadows, behind gilded walls, where Hermes, the swift messenger, flitted like a restless butterfly. "Why must we serve him?" the goddess Hecate murmured, her voice a soft incantation. "What have we gained from his tyranny but the dull ache of loyalty?" Prometheus, bound by chains of his own making, echoed her sentiments. Zeus has forgotten the essence of power. It lies not in fear, but in respect. We are not mere pawns in his game. Flames of rebellion flickered in their hearts. Hades, the god of the underworld, listened with a calculating interest. He challenged Zeus as to core destruction, but it might also be our salvation. What do you propose? As the moon hung heavy and ominous, they resolved to confront their king, to demand a new order that honored their voices. That very night, the gods gathered in the depths of Olympus, their faces lit by the flickering light of enchanted candles, each glow revealing fierce determination. In the grand hall of Olympus, Zeus reclined upon his throne, his gaze piercing the gathered assembly. "What brings you here, my wayward children?" His voice reverberated like thunder, echoing off the walls of marble and gold. "We seek freedom, Father," declared Ares, the god of war, stepping forward, his armor glistening like molten silver. "Your reign has turned us into shadows of what we could be. Give us the power to shape our destinies." Zeus' expression darkened as he regarded them, the weight of centuries in his gaze. "You wish to challenge me? Know this, I do not take kindly to rebellion." The air crackled with tension, and as Ares clenched his fists, a bolt of divine fury arced from Zeus' fingertips. "You will learn the cost of defiance." But before the storm could fully unleash, Hecate raised her arms, conjuring a shroud of darkness. "We will not fight you, Father, we seek dialogue, not destruction. Let us reshape Olympus together." At that moment, the skies outside darkened, a tempest brewing in the distance, mirroring the turmoil within. Zeus, recognizing that his children were spiraling toward chaos, felt a familiar sting of bitterness. "Then let it be known, those who defy me shall taste the wrath of Olympus." In that instant, the winds howled and a celestial storm erupted, lightning illuminating the heavens. Zeus summoned a tempest of defying fury, his voice booming like resonant thunder. "Your rebellion will be crushed beneath my heel, and those who stand against me shall find no refuge." As the winds lashed against Mount Olympus, Hades spoke, his voice calm amidst the chaos. "If it is war you desire, then war you shall have, but know this, dear brother, the flames of rebellion can scorch all." With that, the storm intensified, and the gods scattered, each retreating to their corners of Olympus, hearts pounding with the weight of their decisions. As the night wore on, bold and unyielding, Prometheus slipped quietly from Olympus, knowing the risks of betrayal. He would seek out the mortals, the brave-hearted warriors of the realm below, to unite them against the divine oppression of Zeus. For he had seen the fires of destiny flickered in their hearts, a spark that could ignite the very heavens. Meanwhile, on the battlefield below, the kingdom of Argos stood in silent anticipation. A band of warriors, led by the fearless hero Asher, sharpened their blades, readying themselves for war. The tales of the gods had long been whispered among them, stories of power and chaos, but now they sensed a shift, the winds of fate blowing toward them. Asher, tall and resolute, gathered his men. "Brothers, it is said that the gods walk among us, that they bleed like we do. If the heavens are torn asunder, then we too must prepare to fight. We will not cower in their shadow." His words ignited the hearts of his companions, and they pledged their loyalty in solemn oaths, swearing to stand against the divine if necessary. The scent of iron and sweat filled the air as the warriors prepared for an uncertain battle, each knowing that destiny awaited. Back on Olympus, Zeus seethed in anger, the storm raging outside echoing his wrath. "Foolish children," he thundered, striking the ground with his staff, causing the very earth to tremble. "I shall teach them the meaning of fear." Yet even as he unleashed his fury upon the world, deep within, a seed of doubt began to bloom. Perhaps he had underestimated the resolve of his kin, and perhaps, just perhaps, a reckoning awaited him as well. Prometheus traveled swiftly, weaving through the darkened woods, the whispers of ancient magic guiding him. He reached the village of mortals, where the flames of hope flickered in their eyes. Brave souls of Argos, he called, his voice strong. The gods wage war against one another, and their strife may yet lead you to freedom. Ashur and his warriors gathered around him, their faces alight with curiosity and determination. Are you saying we must rise against the gods? Ashur asked, skepticism lacing his tone. Prometheus nodded, fervor igniting his words. Yes, if you unite, the power of your spirits can rival that of Olympus. The gods have forgotten that mortals possess the heart of warriors. The villagers exchanged glances as uncertainty loomed, but Ashur stepped forward, his resolve unyielding. Then we shall forge our destiny. We will stand against the whims of the gods, for we are not their pawns. Thus, under the cloak of night, the mortals bound themselves in alliance with Prometheus, preparing to challenge divine authority. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the warriors donned their armor, hearts thundering with the promise of rebellion. Back on Olympus, the storm raged on, but Zeus sensed a disturbance that prickled at his senses. The storm was not merely a manifestation of his wrath, but also a reflection of the rising tide of defiance below. Could the mortals truly challenge him? Could his children rise against him? With a flick of his wrist, Zeus summoned a council of the gods, desperate to quell the burgeoning rebellion. We must strike before it's too late, he declared, his tone grave. We shall unleash our might upon the mortals and bring Prometheus to his knees. The gods, once hesitant, now rallied under their father S banner, emboldened by the power he offered. Hades glanced at his siblings, a dark glimmer of mischief in his eyes. Let us watch this unfold. Perhaps it is time Olympus lends humility. With plans set into motion, the heavens darkened further as the gods prepared for war, their eyes glued to the horizon where the mortal armies gathered a storm of their own brewing. As the warriors of Argos readied themselves for the trials ahead, Prometheus stood among them, his heart heavy with an ancient sorrow. Whatever happens, remember, true strength lies not in the power of the gods, but in the courage of those who dare to defy them. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden light upon the warriors, a sign of hope amidst the chaos. And in that moment, Destiny stretched her arms wide, welcoming both gods and mortals to the grand stage of fate, where the lines of loyalty and betrayal blurred, and the echoes of war would soon resound across the realms. Thus began the divine reckoning, a clash of titans and mortals, where honor would be tested, destinies forged, and the true nature of gods laid bare. The battle was imminent, each heart pounding in rhythm with the storm that, unbeknownst to Zeus, would soon backfire with devastating consequences. # Part 2, The Unraveling Tempest. The sun dipped low, casting a crimson hue upon the horizon, as the warriors of Argos gathered, hearts aflame with an audacity they had never known. It was a day when fate twisted, and destiny, eager to weave its tale, beckoned them into the maelstrom of divine conflict. Ashur stood at the forefront, gripping his sword as if it were an extension of his very essence. The sound of clashing metal and roaring voices filled the air, a symphony of anticipation. Today, we face not just the wrath of gods, but the very essence of tyranny, he declared, voice firm and unwavering. Today, we reclaim our destinies. The villagers erupted in fervent cheers, a chant rising like smoke spiraling into the heavens. They were not merely men now, they were a storm, ready to break against Olympus itself. Meanwhile, high upon the peaks of Olympus, Zeus watched the mortals from his throne, a tempest of fury brewing within him. They dare rise against the divine, he rumbled, the very clouds trembling in response. They will know despair before this dance. On his command, thunder rumbled across the sky, and the winds howled, carrying the scent of impending doom. Yet, amidst the gathering storm, a shadow flickered. Hades and his scheming gaze lingered. Let this play out, dear brother, he whispered, lips curling into a sly grin. Perhaps it is time for our kin to witness the consequences of their action. Reveling in the chaos, the gods prepared for battle, their powers surging like molten lava, igniting Olympus with a fierce luminescence. Ares, the god of war, clashed his swords together, the sound echoing like a battle cry that reverberated through the very fabric of Olympus. Let us show them the price of defiance. As the gods descended upon the earth, the storm broke, darkening the skies above Argos. The golden light of dawn was swallowed whole, replaced by ominous clouds crackling with energy. The warriors of Argos, unyielding in their resolve, stood tall, refusing to cower beneath the weight of divine oppression. Prometheus stood among them, a sentinel of hope amidst a sea of warriors. Remember, brave souls, the gods may wield power, but they are not invincible, he urged, his voice a steady anchor. Fight not with anger, but with the strength of your hearts. At that moment, the heavens opened, raining fury and divine chaos upon the warriors. Lightning tore through the skies, illuminating the battlefield in flashes, while thunder roared like the wrath of countless gods. The first wave of divine wrath struck. Ares led the charge, flanked by Athena, the goddess of wisdom, her shield shimmering with celestial light. The ground trembled as they landed, divine beings, fierce and terrifying. Ares raised his sword, a beacon of war. "Rise, mortals, feel the might of Olympus," he bellowed, while spear and sword clashed against the mortal shields, the air thickening with the clash of steel and the cries of those who did defy. Ashur met Ares' gaze, his heart racing with fervor. "We are not mere toys to be cast aside," he roared, lunging forward, sword glinting like a star fallen from the sky. The two collided in a clash of titans, mortal and god, each refusing to yield ground. In the chaos, Hecate emerged from the shadows, weaving her dark magic. She raised her hands, summoning the night around her. "Fools, do not underestimate the power of shadows," she cried, her voice a haunting echo, as tendrils of darkness lashed out to ensnare the gods. Yet, within the mortal ranks, confusion began to take root. The warriors faltered as they witnessed the raw power of divine might. Prometheus, ever vigilant, felt the pulse of fear ripple through the hearts of his allies. "Stand firm," he urged, voice unwavering. The heart of a warrior beats strongest in the face of despair. As the gods continued their onslaught, Zeus, watching from the precipice of Olympus, steeled himself for the final blow. "I will demonstrate the true force of Olympus," he roared, his voice echoing across the battlefield. He raised his arm, readying a bolt of divine lightning to strike down upon the mortals. But a flicker of doubt clouded his heart, a memory of the bond he once shared with his children, an echo of laughter in the halls of Olympus when they were united, not divided. "What have I wrought?" he murmured, but it was too late. With a crack like a thunderclap, Zeus unleashed his fury, a bolt of lightning arcing toward Ashur, who stood resolute, sword raised before him. Time slowed, fear danced in his chest, yet he refused to falter, invoking the strength of his ancestors. Prometheus saw the bolt streaking toward them, a harbinger of destruction. "No," he bellowed, rushing forward, the glow of his spirit igniting. He reached out, channeling his essence to shield Ashur, but the power of the gods was overpowering, and the clash sent shockwaves through the ground. The mortal warriors watched in horror as the divine energy collided with Prometheus' protective aura, a dazzling explosion blooming like a flower of chaos. The battlefield lit up, shadows cast against the horizon, and in that blinding light, a new reality unfolded. Ashur, shielded yet shaken, remained on his feet, fueled by newfound determination. "We are not mere mortals to be extinguished," he shouted, raising his sword toward the heavens. "We are the fire of rebellion." The winds shifted, swirling around them as the storm intensified, mirroring the chaos of war and rebellion. Hades, observing from the shadows, smirked, sensing an opportunity. "This is delightful," he chuckled softly to himself, relishing the turmoil. But amidst the chaos, Hecate's spell took shape, and shadows danced to her will. "We can turn the tide," she whispered to the warriors, weaving her magic to ensnare Ares and Athena, drawing them into a web of darkness. "Use the shadows against the gods." The moment resonated as Ashur rallied his men. "With the power of the shadows, we can bind them, fight with the strength of our spirits," he roared, the energy of hope igniting once more. And so the battle raged on, with mortal warriors weaving through the divine chaos, shadows snatching at the heels of the gods. Ares, struggling against Hecate's enchantment, roared in frustration. "Release me, witch," he bellowed, his voice a tempest. But the warriors surged forth, emboldened by their newfound unity. They fought not just for survival, but for dignity, for a destiny of their choosing. Each swing of their swords became a testament to their resolve, a defiance against the chains of divine oppression. Just as it seemed the tide had turned, Zeus, enraged, unleashed a new storm, the skies darkening ominously. "Enough," he thundered, his voice echoing like a heartbeat across the realms. "I will not be defied." The storm above swirled violently, and as Zeus gathered energy for another devastating strike, Prometheus, weakened but unyielding, stepped forward. "Look around you, father," he shouted, his voice rising above the chaos. "This is not victory, it is madness. You unleash destruction upon your own kin." For a fleeting moment, Zeus hesitated, the weight of countless eons resting upon his shoulders. He saw the faces of his children, both divine and mortal. He felt the pulse of unity in their defiance. Could this be a chance to change the course of fate? Ashur seized the moment, wielding his sword with fervor. "Stand with us, Zeus, join us, the world can be reborn. Free from tyranny," he cried, a glimmer of hope igniting in his heart. Zeus's gaze faltered, and in that moment the storm began to recede. The winds calmed, the lightning dimmed, and for the first time he felt the weight of what it meant to rule. Perhaps the true power of the gods lay not in dominance, but in understanding. But even as the clouds parted, Hades stepped from the shadows, his eyes gleaming with mischief. "Brother, you risk losing all control," he warned, a dark smile curling his lips. "The mortals will never accept the divine again." And thus the storm resumed, but this time it was different, an internal storm of doubt within Zeus, swirling chaos of what it meant to be a god. The clash of titans and mortals danced around him, a whirlwind of fate and destiny entwined. With a heart full of struggle and conviction, Zeus took a breath, the echoes of his children reaching him. "Let this battle become a lesson," he declared, his voice resonating with authority. "Let us forge a new path, one shaped by both mortals and gods." And as the skies cleared and a new dawn emerged, the warriors of Argos looked out, hearts aflame with newfound hope. They stood not as mere mortals in the shadow of deities, but as equal partners in the dance of existence, ready to reshape the world in which they lived. Thus thou. ## Part 3 The Reckoning of Olympus. As dawn broke over the battlefield, an ethereal glow illuminated the horizon, revealing a tableau of chaos and resolve that would be etched in the annals of history. The warriors of Argos, emboldened by their defiance, stood shoulder to shoulder, their swords glistening like stars against the remnants of a storm that had once threatened to consume them. Prometheus, his spirit flickering but unyielding, stood at the forefront, a beacon of hope amidst the turmoil. "Now is the time to seize our destiny," he roared, the echoes of his voice mingling with the fading thunder. "We are not mere pawns in a divine game. We are the architects of our fate. Let the gods know that we will no longer bow." Asher, filled with a fire that matched the sun's rising heat, stepped forward, his sword raised high. "We have felt the weight of their oppression for too long," he shouted, his voice resonating with the passion of his ancestors. "Today, we fight not just for survival, but for honor, for freedom." The air crackled with the energy of his words, the warriors roaring in unison, their battle cries echoing like a storm of their own. With renewed vigor, they charged toward the gods, hearts pounding as they clashed against divine might. Lightning arced across the sky, Zeus' last act of fury, but for every bolt that rained down, 10 mortals surged forward, determined and fierce. The warriors, united in purpose, wielded their weapons with a skill born of desperation and hope, their resolve immovable against the tides of chaos. The battlefield transformed into a theater of war, a cacophony of clashing steel, the primal screams of gods and mortals mingling with the thunderous roars of nature itself. Ares, still ensnared by Hecate's shadows, fought with fierce desperation, his divine power struggling against the binding spell. "Release me," which he bellowed, his voice filled with rage and confusion. "I will not be contained." From the shadows, Hecate's laughter rang like an ominous spell. "You are but a pawn in this game, Ares," she hissed, her form flickering with dark energy. "Today, the balance of power shifts. You see, it is not just the gods who wield the force of destiny." Asher, sensing the chaos, pressed forward, his eyes locking onto Ares. "You are more than a god of war," he shouted, catching the attention of the bound deity. "You can choose to fight with us, not against us." He thrust his sword toward the sky, challenging Ares to see beyond the confines of his fury. The goddess' eyes narrowed, and for a brief moment uncertainty flickered across his face. "What do you know of war, mortal?" Ares snarled, but even as he spoke, the shadows began to loosen, allowing him a breath of freedom. "More than you think," Asher proclaimed, determination etched into his very being. "War is not a mere contest of strength, it is a dance of honor, of sacrifice, of choice. Join us, Ares, and together we can reshape Olympus." With a primal roar, Ares broke free from Hecate's grasp, his essence surging with newfound energy. "Then let us forge a new legacy," he declared, charging into the fray with Asher by his side, a whirlwind of fury and valor, a bond forged in the crucible of war. Amidst the chaos, Athena emerged, her armor gleaming like a sunlit shield. "This folly must end," she cried, her voice cutting through the tumult like a sharp blade. "We are gods, not monsters. If we destroy each other, what becomes of Olympus?" Prometheus, sensing her struggle, pressed forward, eyes blazing with defiance. "You speak of nobility, Athena, yet it is your father's tyranny that has wrought this chaos. Either join us in crafting a new path or watch your kin crumble beneath the weight of their choices." Athena's gaze softened, the flicker of doubt stirring within her. She felt the truth in Prometheus' words, the echoes of a past where unity reigned over discord. "Perhaps there is wisdom in your words," she mused, her voice softer now, yet filled with authority. "But can we truly trust one another again?" "Trust is forged in the fires of adversity," Prometheus replied, his gaze unwavering. "The bonds we create today will carry us through the darkness." As the battle raged on, the ground trembled beneath the weight of divine and mortal conflict. Hades watched from the shadows, a dark grin curling his lips. "Let them fight," he murmured, reveling in the chaos. "For in the end, they will all fall, and I shall reap the souls of the vanquished." But beneath the surface, a storm brewed within Zeus, who stood atop Olympus, grappling with the weight of his choices. The cries of battle echoed in his ears, a haunting reminder of a kinship he had lost. "What have I done?" he whispered, the thunder rumbling in response to his torment. In that moment of vulnerability, the wind shifted. Prometheus, sensing the disturbance above, looked to the heavens with determination. "Zeus, you may hold the power of the storm, but even storms must eventually yield to the sun. Join us in rebuilding, not destroying." The god of thunder felt the pulse of hope surge through him, yet doubt clawed at his heart. "What if I cannot forgive?" he questioned, his voice tinged with vulnerability echoing through the battlefield. "Forgiveness is the seed from which strength grows," Prometheus urged, his words echoing in the chaos. "Only together can we defy our fates and break the chains of tyranny." As the battlefield trembled beneath their feet, Zeus's resolve began to waver. He observed Asher and Ares, fighting side by side as equals, a sight that ignited a flicker of recognition in his heart. "Perhaps it is time to redefine what it means to be a god," he murmured. "To lead not through fear, but through unity." Meanwhile, the tides of battle shifted dramatically. Hecate summoned her shadows, weaving them into a tapestry of despair, ensnaring mortals and gods alike. "You dare defy the will of Olympus?" she hissed, her voice dripping with malice. "I will show you the true meaning of darkness." But even as she spoke, a growing light began to unfurl in the hearts of the warriors. Asher, filled with adrenaline, met her gaze fiercely. "You think shadows can extinguish our fire? You underestimate the spirit of mortals." With that, he surged forward, rallying the warriors to harness their collective strength. "Remember why we fight," he cried, raising his sword high. "Let the fire of our hearts pierce the veil of darkness." And as they charged, their voices rose in a resounding chant, drowning out the chaos. "For freedom, for honor, for our destiny." The light of their unity pushed back against Hecate's darkness, igniting the battlefield with a fierce glimmer. Zeus, witnessing the resurgence of hope, felt the weight of his decision pressing down. "I have been a tyrant, blind to the pain of my own," he declared, his voice echoing across the battlefield. "But no more. I will fight alongside you, both gods and mortals." The warriors halted, their eyes widening in disbelief. "What is this madness?" Hades exclaimed, stepping forward, anger and confusion etched across his features. "You would side with the mortals, brother?" "Yes, sir." Zeus thundered, the wind shifting to carry his voice. "We shall unite to forge a new Olympus, one that values the strength of all. Together, we can rise from the ashes of our failure." The gods and mortals alike watched in awe as a new alliance formed before their eyes. Asher, feeling the tide shift, turned to his warriors. "We have a chance to redefine our fate," he shouted, his voice resonating with fervor. "Together, we shall rise as one." With renewed purpose, the warriors charged forward, emboldened by the divine power now standing alongside them. The clash of weapons rang out like a symphony of defiance, a testament to their refusal to be silenced. As the battle intensified, the warriors surged toward Hecate, who unleashed her shadows in a desperate bid for power. "You cannot hope to defeat the darkness," she screeched, her magic crackling like wildfire. But with Zeus leading the charge, lightning crackled through the air and struck her shadows, illuminating the battlefield. "The light will always prevail against the dark," he roared, transforming the storm into a beacon of hope. With each clash and surge, the tides of battle turned. The gods, once divided, now fought with purpose, wielding their powers alongside the mortal warriors. Ares, filled with a newfound sense of honor, clashed with Hecate, their powers colliding in a magnificent display of light and shadow. "Your time of tyranny ends here," Ares bellowed, his sword cutting through the shadows. "Olympus will rise anew on the foundation of unity." And as the battle raged, each warrior, each god, felt an unbreakable bond forming a connection that transcended their. Part 4, The Tempest Unleashed. As the first rays of dawn illuminated the battlefield, the fury of Olympus had yet to reveal its full might. The air crackled with anticipation, a charged energy that stirred the hearts of mortals and gods alike. All eyes turned towards Zeus, standing resolute, the storm swirling around him like a cloak of power that both threatened and promised revolution. With a thunderous roar, Zeus raised his arms, the clouds above swirling ominously, reflecting the tumult of his own spirit. "We shall forge a new order," he declared, his voice thunderous yet tinged with an unexpected softness. "If chaos is to be our crucible, then let unity be our flame." The warriors, emboldened by his words, felt the wind shift. Asher, standing at the forefront, raised his sword aloft, its blade catching the sun's first light. Together, we defy the shadows. We are not mere mortals to be crushed beneath the weight of the gods. The warriors echoed his rallying cry, their voices rising like a powerful tide. But Hecate, the mistress of shadows, stood defiantly amidst the growing light, her eyes narrowing with fury. "You think this alliance can protect you from the darkness?" she hissed, tendrils of shadow swirling around her like serpents, ready to strike. "I will show you the true meaning of despair." And like an orchestra conductor, she unleashed her magic. Shadows writhed and twisted, forming monstrous shapes that loomed over the battlefield, threatening to consume both gods and men. Nightmarish creatures slithered forth, their eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger, drawn from the very essence of Hecate's dark sorcery. With a resolute heart, Ares, breaking free from the remnants of Hecate's grip, stepped forward. "If shadows seek to devour the light, it shall be its sword," he proclaimed, charging into the fray. The air filled with the sound of clashing steel as divine and mortal warriors surged forward, the lines drawn between light and darkness as stark as day and night. Prometheus, standing shoulder to shoulder with Asher, felt the surge of battle spirit course through him. "We must harness our fears and channel them into strength," he shouted, leading a charge against Hecate's fearsome creations. "Together, we are the beacon of hope against the encroaching dark." As they clashed with the monstrous creatures, the battlefield erupted into chaos, a swelling tempest of combat and desperation. A monster shadow snake lunged at Asher, its maw wide, dripping with malice. With a fierce cry, he swung his sword, the blade slicing through the darkness, leaving a shimmering trail of light in its wake. "You shall not take our freedom," he yelled, determination propelling his every move. The creature recoiled, hissing in pain as it faded into the shadows, but more relentless, slithering from Hecate's grasp. "You cannot extinguish the darkness," she screamed, eyes blazing with fury. "I will engulf this world in eternal night." But Ares, emboldened by the camaraderie between gods and mortals, thrust his spear into the ground, invoking the very essence of battle. "Let the spirit of war guide us. For every shadow that rises, we shall strike back with the fury of Olympus," he roared, his voice echoing across the battlefield. With renewed vigor, the alliance of warriors surged forward, striking against the encroaching darkness. Asher felt the pulse of the battle synchronize with his heart, each swing of his sword igniting a flame within. "For honor, for our choice, for freedom," he bellowed, leading the charge with Prometheus by his side. As Hecate summoned her shadows to ensnare them, Prometheus, with fierce determination, conjured a radiant light from within. "We will not be enslaved," he shouted, channeling the essence of hope into a blinding glow that illuminated the battlefield. "Light, come forth, cast away the chains of despair." The light surged outward, pushing back against Hecate's darkness, a luminous wave that cut through the shadows like a blade. The creatures wailed and recoiled, their forms disintegrating into wisps of nothingness as they were consumed by the brilliance of Prometheus' spirit. But Hecate was far from defeated. She drew upon the depths of her dark magic with a fury that threatened to tear the heavens asunder. "You think this illusion of unity will save you?" she screamed, her voice echoing like a death knell. "I will unleash the true horror of the night." From the depths of her magic, she summoned a towering beast, a creature wreathed in shadows, its eyes glowing with the fire of ancient wrath. It roared, a sound that shook the very ground, sending tremors through the hearts of warriors. "Stand firm," Asher shouted, rallying his men. "This is our moment, we will not falter." The warriors, filled with resolve, pushed forward, their hearts beating as one against the tide of despair. As the monstrous beast loomed, Ares charged forth, channeling the fury of war. "I am Ares, the god of battle. I will face this abomination." With each step, he felt the pulse of power surge through him, the essence of thousands of battles coursing in his veins. With a battle cry that echoed through the heavens, Ares lunged, his spear piercing the creature as shadowy form. The impact sent a shockwave through the battlefield, like colliding with darkness in a blinding explosion. But as the light flickered, Hecate's laughter rang out, a haunting melody that chilled the souls of all who heard it. "Foolish gods and mortals, I am the darkness that consumes even the mightiest of flames," she jeered, raising her arms to draw upon the shadows once more. "Enough." Zeus thundered, stepping forward, his resolve hardening. "Your reign of terror ends here, sister." His voice resonated like thunder, commanding the attention of all. With one sweeping motion, he summoned the storm, lightning crackling around him as he directed its energy toward Hecate's monstrous creation. "Let the storm cleanse this realm," he roared, unleashing a torrent of lightning that cascaded through the air, striking the beast with a blinding light. The shadows writhed and screamed, unraveling under the combined might of gods and mortals. As the creatures shrieked in agony, the ground trembled beneath their feet and the storm surged, thunder roaring in approval of the newfound alliance of strength. The warriors, emboldened by the divine power at their side, surged forward, striking down the remnants of darkness. "We are united," shouted Prometheus, standing triumphantly amidst the chaos. "Not as gods and mortals, but as champions of a new dawn. Together, we will rise from the ashes of tyranny." The tide of battle shifted, the last remnants of Hecate's darkness crumbling before the united front of warriors and gods. With a final push, they drove the shadows back, until Hecate herself stood alone, her powers waning and her face twisted in fury. "You may have triumphed today, but this is not the end," she screamed, the shadows coiling around her in a desperate embrace. "I will return, and when I do, it shall unleash a darkness that will consume the very light you cherish." As the light of hope surged brighter, Zeus stepped forward, his presence commanding. "Then let it be known, Hecate, when you return, we will be ready. The bonds forged today will not be easily broken." With a final flick of her wrist, Hecate vanished into the shadows, her laughter echoing like a fading storm. The battlefield fell silent, the last remnants of darkness dissipating under the golden rays of dawn. Asher and Prometheus stood amidst the fading chaos, hearts racing as they looked upon their allies, gods and mortals, united in purpose. "We have won," Asher breathed, disbelief mingling with triumph. "But what does this mean for our future?" "It means rebirth," Prometheus replied, his eyes alight with determination. "Together, we can mold this world anew, sharing the burdens and the joys of existence." The warriors cheered, their voices rising like a chorus of hope as they embraced one another, the bonds of camaraderie forged in the fires of battle stronger than any divine decree. Ares and Athena stood at the forefront, their eyes reflecting the dawn-esque light a new beginning. As Zeus surveyed the battlefield, a sense of humility washed over him. "Today, we have learned that our strength lies not in domination, but in unity," he declared, his voice resonating through the hearts of all present. "From this day forth, Olympus shall not be a realm of tyranny, but a sanctuary of balance, where gods and mortals share in the journey of existence." And as the sun rose high in the sky, casting its golden light across the land, the winds of change swept through Olympus and the realms below. The legends of this day would echo through eternity, a testament to the power of unity, resilience, and the indomitable spirit of those who dared to rise against darkness. Thus, the tale of the Tempest Unleashed became a cornerstone of myth, a story of redemption and strength that would inspire generations to come. And in the annals of Olympus, it would